All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I did actually just get a message from Mr. Bill Kimler. He asked me if there's an issue with Riverside today. Not that I'm aware of. Uh, so I just messaged him. Anyway, I am Barrett Gruber. Good morning, everybody. Like I said, this is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am host of the All About Nothing podcast with Zach King. You can find me on social media at Barrett Gruber. If Mr. Kimler is able to jump in here in just a minute, then you'll get to meet Mr. Bill Kimler. He is the host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jim Brooks. You can follow him at Political Bill SC. We do sometimes have issues with this thing called technology. It happens from time to time. I certainly understand it. It can be frustrating. It can be frustrating to say the least. Let's see. For some reason, it's telling him he can't access the link. So I'm going to shoot him over a link so that he can join me if it will work. Here we go. And it could very well be on my end. It happens from time to time. Anyway, we're going to talk about some news and such here in just a minute. We have always a lot going on. That is, to say the least. We seem to be in this nonstop cycle. Let's see. So I just sent Mr. Kimler the an updated link. Anyway, so I think he might be joining me in just a second. How's everybody doing? Man, what a crazy few days since the last time we went live. It's I don't know. I feel like we're constantly being bombarded by what can only be described as some of the most disturbing thoughts, I guess, that we get from Mr. President Donald Trump. CBS 60 Minutes admitted over the weekend that they virtually have no ability to get any guests to come on the show anymore. They are so in fear of what could potentially come down on them, or what could potentially come down on 60 Minutes for them being guests on the show. They have serious concern. There's Mr. Bill Kimler.
What, are you trying to sabotage me this morning?
No, I didn't think about it, but so now it occurs to me exactly what potentially probably happened. And that is, so that was a short link that I had under my name. And I decided it doesn't make sense for me to pay for that anymore. So I stopped paying for it. I've been paying for it for probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And I was like, I don't need this. This doesn't make any sense. I can just use Bitly. And so that may be why that potentially stopped working.
Yeah, it was telling me website not found, link not valid. I was like, okay,
that's all right. I'll create a.
And then I saw the show started without me. So well, yeah,
look,
yeah, I see. The show must go on. That's fine.
The show must go on. I was talking about CBS and 60 Minutes. Have you heard about this?
I have. I think, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things going on with CBS and 60 Minutes.
So they admitted over the weekend that they are having a hard time even getting guests to come on the show.
Oh, really?
Because of the threat of potential lawsuit, or the looming lawsuit that CBS has currently with Donald Trump suing them and them trying to settle, because ultimately they're trying to settle because Paramount wants to be merged, there's a merger going on with Skydance, Tom Cruise's production company. But there's I say his production company. All of his stuff comes out on Skydance, whether it's Maverick or Mission Impossible or all the Star Trek movies. Anyway, but that merger is basically waiting on the approval of the FCC, and without that merger, Paramount could be looking at potential collapse.
So I was reading a quote from the chair of the FCC, and I don't know the guy's name, but he was calling out, saying the news media has become unreliable and untrustworthy. And he says, news organizations like NBC and CBS and ABC, CNN, have let the people down. You know who he never mentioned?
Fox?
Yeah, the one news organization that actually lost a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit for peddling fake news. And it is
When all of the
alternate
evidence
reality.
when all of the evidence is available, ignore it.
Yeah.
So
We played a clip about Fox News on our newest episode of Black, White, and Blue in the South, which
yeah,
drops on Wednesday.
exciting.
Yes, I'm in the middle of editing it. I was up late last night, so I'm a little scratchy-eyed this morning. Can we move this to like 10:30 at night? Is there any reason why it has to be 5:30 a.m.? Like, do you get more listeners and watchers early in the a.m. versus late at night when people are going to bed?
I think we'd potentially get more. We would probably get more in the evening than we do. You said
Okay,
10.
so we get up or crack of dawn and have the benefit of fewer people watching us. This is a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest, Bill. I thought maybe you just overslept this morning, but then I was like, no, Bill never oversleeps. I can't imagine that being the scenario.
No, I'll confess. I actually was 2-3 minutes late because I had a coffee emergency.
Oh no!
I was brewing my coffee and I'm right on schedule. And then in the last couple of seconds of the Keurig, the cup burst, and then all the coffee grounds went right into my coffee.
Oh,
And now it's 5:27 a.m. and I'm like, well, I'm not going on air without my goddamn coffee.
yeah,
It's just not happening. But at least I had the bad link as an excuse to hide behind. So fortune went my way. So I had no reason to have confessed what I confessed.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I'd be great on the witness stand.
I wanted to share.
Yes, my mother killed them.
I wanted to share this, which I find incredibly disturbing because in the wake of my episode with Melissa Gainey doing my own cognitive test.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to play this.
Okay.
Because I think that it's important for people to see this.
How did you decide to reopen Alcatraz? Can you walk us through that decision?
Did I say what?
To reopen Alcatraz, how will you use it? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making, and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies. But it's right now a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up. And it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz, and just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country. And so we're going to look at it. Some of the people up here are going to be working very hard on that. And we had a little conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see if we can bring it back in large form, add a lot. But I think it represents something. Right now, it's a big hulk that's sitting there rusting and rotting. You look at it, it's sort of, you saw that picture that was put out. It's sort of amazing. But it sort of represents something that's both horrible and beautiful and strong and miserable, weak. It's got a lot of qualities that are interesting. And I think they make a point.
It represents something that is strong and weak. He's doing his man, chair, television, bird routine, isn't he?
What is he talking about? Like the question was pretty simple. What was the thought process, basically?
I knew a guy named Alcatraz, and he should be let go.
A lot of shark bites. What historically, not a whole lot of sharks in San Francisco Bay. Just because it's a very cold.
You want to go swim it and find out for yourself? You're going to put that theory to the test?
No. Have you ever been to San Francisco? Been to Alcatraz?
Yeah, I've escaped. I made it there and I got out. So
well,
there it is.
The boat took me over. The boat took me back. Yeah. No, it was a really cool place to visit.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to San Francisco a number of times, and once with the family, we said, "Hey, let's go check out Alcatraz." And I find that you have to book your reservation months in advance. I mean, that place is booked out
Yeah.
far. It's a popular tourist attraction. And for a tourist attraction, I can't believe they let it decay, because, tourists love to go see things in decay.
$60 million in revenue is what Alcatraz
Yeah.
brings in.
Well, why would you want that when you could be spending $1 billion of taxpayer money instead?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're a little less, but they're looking at potentially, if they were to max out the number of inmates, which would also involve a complete renovation of the entire facility. But after that renovation, so the renovation itself, they're estimating to be somewhere between 17 and $22 billion renovation, because you have to upgrade everything. I mean, basically you have to rebuild it from the bottom up. But then it would cost 13, because you can only right now, if it was rebuilt exactly the same way with new technology and everything like that, you're looking at only holding about 350 to 370 inmates. That unfortunately does not produce the type of it doesn't, the cost with
Well, listen, Ed Barrett, this is a distraction. So the fact that we've even spent 7 minutes on this topic is horrible. This is what he'll do. He'll throw out a dumb idea like Alcatraz. He'll throw out a dumb idea like Pope Trump, just to distract you from the fact that this administration, which won on cutting government spending, has
Right.
actually spent $200 billion more this quarter than the Biden administration did this time last year.
Yeah.
He's trying to distract you from the fact that the recurring unemployment rate has risen for the first time in, oh gosh, since the COVID crash, right? He's distracting you from the things that matter by throwing out these dumb things. And like red meat, man, we're jumping all over it.
Well,
We jump all over it.
Yeah. And for me, it's entertaining because what I see is just a complete degrading of what it's like to watch a human brain just start to collapse in on itself. Oh, your friend me has dropped a hard truth about why we don't broadcast, why we don't record this late at night, because Barrett's asleep.
Yeah, well, that would be true. You know what? It's also distracting us from the truth at how absolutely miserably you failed that cognitive test.
Oh, come on.
I listened to that thing and I was in horror, and I am surprised you have not been locked up at this point. You even started off the show talking about Trump and his ego and how, he kept interrupting the tester. And then what did you proceed to do? The entire test, you kept interrupting the poor lady that was administering the test. After every question, you would inflate your own ego saying, "Oh, I got that right, didn't I?" And she kept saying, "Well, that's for me to assess." And it wasn't just one time. It was every damn question. You were off the scales. Like the test wasn't the test. The test was how you took the test, and you failed that miserably, man. You've got some issues.
In my defense,
there is no defense.
Well, okay. In my proclaimed defense, if you watch the video, she makes faces the whole time that make me think, "Oh, I'm clearly failing this."
Who else blames somebody else for all of their problems? Let's see here. What president of the United States is constantly blaming somebody else for his issues? Let's see here.
No way.
That was a great episode. That was very entertaining. And you made yourself vulnerable, and I don't know if it paid off for you, but it paid off for the listener. The listener really enjoyed it.
Look, I have no ego. I tell people all the time.
You said I bet I answered that faster than anybody who's ever taken that question. Like, look, those are things you said in that episode.
That doesn't feel accurate.
I have no ego. It says I've got the highest score of anybody, right? I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
You were so assured of yourself. It was hilarious.
So the scoring on that is 30, potential of 30 points. And she did give me 29 out of 30 because there was one part of the test where she has to basically repeat off a bunch of letters in order. And every time the letter A would come up, I would have to like tap my hand or my finger or whatnot. So I would do that. But like, I got ahead. Like I was so prepared to try and do it in line with what letters she was saying that I tapped too early. So she took off. And that part of the test was only worth 1 point. So
I thought there was one question you got wrong because you misread the instructions. It seems to, I don't recall the specifics, but it seemed like you had gone too fast and miswritten instructions somewhere.
the very beginning of the test, I started because you have to do this ascending order thing where they give you start with the number one, you draw a
Okay,
line
yes.
from 1 to A. I started before her, but what I was doing was just explaining it, and I was like, "Oh, I have an individual here who is a professional counselor who could literally do all of that for me." So, see, I fell into the host role of that situation, but yeah, I was very much entertained. I'm going to have Melissa on as well coming up soon because she actually is an advocate for mental health with children and things like that, and how the state of South Carolina has really done a disservice when it comes to children and mental health and just health in general. Sarah Jane Byers also I'm going to have on soon because she is she works for the district as far as juvenile crimes and things like that, and getting them in the right direction so that that's not an issue later in the future. But she works for the court system here.
At some point, I'm going to explore becoming a guardian ad litem. You heard
Okay.
of that program?
Yeah.
I know some people who do it, and it sounds like it's an absolutely necessary and wonderful service to perform. But helping the kids who need that help, they need to advocate for them.
Yeah.
There's definite shortage.
Yeah.
Speaking of the state of South Carolina, I want to tell you about our weekend of interviews. We got to interview 2 candidates who may appear on every South Carolinian's ballot next year. One is a guy who's running for U.S. Senate. His name is Kyle Freeman. And that was an interesting interview, let me tell you.
You're making a face. For those listening,
yeah.
go. Okay.
Let's just say that the guy admitted he has uranium at home. So that is going to be an interesting character. And then we spoke with.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. He has uranium.
Yeah.
Like radioactive, or is this defaulted uranium? What are we talking about? Or do we have to?
We're going to have to listen to the episode, aren't we?
Episode Black, White, and Blue in the South tomorrow.
Yep. This is it was an interesting interview, so I'll tell you that. The second person we interviewed was Sylvia Wright, who is, if anything, overqualified to be superintendent of education in South Carolina. She was incredible, amazing individual, and we got to spend some quality time with her. And boy, we would be in a much better spot with her than with the current Ellen Weaver, who's running the department into the ground, and public education in general.
Yeah.
Following the footsteps of Trump and A1 sauce Linda McMahon. So it's a great show. Look forward to releasing that first thing Wednesday morning.
Ellen Weaver, when she ran against Lisa Ellis, was it a close race? I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
I know, by definition, it wasn't close. It wasn't like, hey, if only a few more people voted for Lisa, she would have won. But of all of the statewide races, so you had a gubernatorial race with Joe Cunningham against Henry McMaster. You had a U.S. Senate race with Crystal Matthews and Tim Scott.
Yep.
Lisa had the best results, so she had more crossover votes than anybody else.
Yeah.
So she performed really well, but no, I would say, losing by 8 percentage points, I think was the number. That doesn't make it close.
Well, and to go back to it, I mean, Kamala Harris only lost by a couple 100,000 votes here in South Carolina, but it was still, but that 100,000 votes, because of the turnout for the 2024 general election, that couple 100,000 votes was a difference of like what, 15%, 20%, something like that between Trump and Harris.
I don't know the exact number. We did have a high turnout, though. You make it sound like we didn't have a high turnout. We had a 75% turnout.
There was
the highest since an Obama election.
Well, 2024 still saw 700,000 people that didn't turn out to vote.
There's still a good number that don't turn out to vote and never registered to vote. That is a fact. But we've been down that road before.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I wanted to also, and I know this is just merely a distraction, but I think for me it's important because I want to make sure that I keep talking about the fact that Donald Trump cannot be elected to a third term. And this weekend, we did finally see that his advisors must have gotten into his ear about it, because there's a difference between his advisors and then the people that are doing.
Stop. He has advisors. I think right there is a fault in your premise. What he has are sycophants. You sent that picture to me, or you posted a picture of his cabinet meeting.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's crazy, right? It's
All right,
crazy.
describe, what was that picture? It was they were all sitting in a semicircle around the big table, right? What
Yeah.
else?
That even, well, they they had placed their MAGA hats, not theirs. Obviously, they pulled them out of the closet. Where
Are you sure?
I feel like they probably did. I don't feel like Marco Rubio walks around with a MAGA hat on his head. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying I don't feel like he does. I don't think he has a lot of scruples left, but I feel like he's got hair that he doesn't want to cover up. Like, he's pretty proud of his hair. Not which is one of the craziest bullshit things I've ever seen, is that Donald Trump is so proud of his failing hair. I have to call it failing hair. But he wears a hat almost constantly, because when he doesn't, the wind blows that thing off. Like, it starts to rip right off of his head. But he admitted over the weekend that he doesn't know that he can run. So here's the facts. He can run for a third term. He can win that election, but he cannot be sworn in under the Constitution. That doesn't, and the fact that he's acknowledging that now makes me think that there is some sort of plan going into effect, or they are working on some sort of plan that doesn't run.
You say he can't be sworn in, right? As if there is a law or some constitutional thing that will actually get enforced, right? So let's say that he has enough of his supporters. He's got the justices that he's handpicked that are there swearing him in. So who's to stop it?
Well, that's one of the things we keep running into right now, is the fact that the federal court system has issued statements and things like that, or has warnings, and basically they have told him what actions he needs to perform, and he's just ignoring them. And I think that brings up one of the biggest gaps in our constitutional republic, is what teeth does the judicial system have to hold? I mean, Congress has the power of impeachment over the president. And you do have a couple of senators now that are starting to talk about the potential that if the House sends them an impeachment, that they will do a trial. Well, that's not really up to them. That's up to the House majority, or the Senate majority. But this is one of those things where if you start to get enough people talking about it, then maybe there's a potential. But like we discussed weeks ago, if and when the Democrats take the House back in less than 2 years now, I fully support them just impeaching him every single.
But we've been down that road. They can impeach him every week, unless you have a Senate that's willing to vote on that.
Right.
It's not going to matter.
Sure. But make him the president who was impeached 100 times. Or I guess
it doesn't matter. They've got a convicted felon. He's talking, here you have a convicted felon standing in front of a microphone talking about, we need law and order, that's why we need Alcatraz, right? Come on. We were living in very different times here. You've seen that movie Civil War that came out just a couple of years ago. Maybe it was last year.
Yeah.
Phenomenal movie. But it was a lot about a president who just broke the law and refused to leave office. And that led to a civil war throughout the nation. And it is frighteningly realistic, given current events. At the time, it was more of a warning and therefore had higher entertainment value. Now we're kind of seeing it lived out.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into the future, potentially. And I feel like there are a lot of potential Trump supporters, Republican supporters, MAGA supporters that absolutely would probably go along with that whole thing, that they would allow us to fall into just absolute anarchy. Anarchy is not the right word, is it? Something. It was civil war, and it wouldn't just be between states, like the first Civil War. I'm talking about the second Civil War coming. It would be between neighbors. Like that's what we potentially see, and I hope our better angels, keep that from happening. But I don't know.
So I had a viral post just yesterday on Threads, which I'd never gotten before. And this is under my personal account too, not the political ones, my personal account. So I just posed a question that I want to pose to you and see what your answer might be. And it says, if you were to travel back in time 50 years to the year 1975 and say one thing that represents our society today, technological advance or something else that would blow their minds, what would it be? So you get to reveal one thing and you're talking to somebody from 50 years ago. What would be the thing that you think would blow their mind the most?
75. That's a really good question. I guess I'd have to go back and tell them, I don't know. I think it would probably have to do with something about evangelical Christianism, I guess. I think just trying to set that straight rather than the uncontrolled, unfettered power that the evangelical church has currently.
I did not expect that. That would be the first time that answer has been given.
Okay.
I got hundreds of replies, and most of them were about mobile phones.
Oh,
That everything a cell phone can do, from talking to video to GPS to being a calculator to taking pictures and camera and everything that we packed into the Swiss Army knife of a thing that goes into our pocket. That was the number one answer. The number two answer was how dumb America has become.
Oh, wow.
That was number two, and that I kind of lumped that in with Nazis in the White House and Trump. I mean, that all kind of rolled in.
Sure.
And then there were some other, probably my favorite answer was, first of all, the shock that 75 was 50 fucking years ago. So like, there's no way that's true, but yeah, you do the math.
Well, that was something that somebody said about. I saw a post talking about Dirty Dancing was like 1989 or something like that.
Right.
It was about the 1960s, and they said if that movie were done today, it'd have to be about 2000. The movie would have to be done today about 2001.
Right. Yeah, 2001 would be ancient times. Like, holy crap. So I'm going to have to compile that. I'm going to run that same question on some other social media platforms and kind of put all the answers together. But it was one of those just weird questions that popped into my mind while I was out for a run saying, what would I tell somebody? One answer that I saw was interesting was that the Twin Towers no longer exist.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Those two towers were the tallest in the world. They were completed in 1973. So if you tell somebody 2 years later that the two biggest buildings in the world would suddenly be gone, they'd be like, what?
Yeah. Construction on Mount Rushmore's for the fifth bust has
started. Right. Guess what? Alcatraz is being reopened. Blow their minds.
Because Alcatraz has been closed since what, 60s?
I have no idea.
I'd have to look that up, but I think that's pretty relative. The Alcatraz being reopened. The fact
I'm surprised you didn't bring up Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson escaping from Alcatraz as being a part of history.
Did The Rock escape from The Rock?
Was it yeah, The Rock was there, or was it The Rock? No, that was the name of the movie. Was The Rock? I just assumed right. The Rock Johnson was in it. All right, give me that cognitive test. I can't wait to blow through it.
You're coming up next. Next Thursday, we'll do that. I'll send you the test. I'll let you. We'll administer it over the air. Actually, I potentially have some other people that I did get a fair amount of feedback on that. There are people that want to come on the show and have that administered to them. Previous guests and things like that really want to see how they do and take it seriously, because ultimately I don't look at necessarily that cognitive test is something of value. But the fact that is the standard at which this president is holding himself to as being cognitively aware and things like that. I mean,
what you should do is you hype it up at how easy this test is, and then you slip them the Mensa test and say, all right, here you go. You should have no problem with this. Watch them panic.
Have you ever seen that Mensa test?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I take it every day, pass it every day. 100%. Nobody's taken that test better than me. It's amazing. People say they've never seen such a thing. They've never seen somebody who's passed it as many times as I've passed it.
Well, on that bombshell, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Bill. I've seen the Mensa test once. I've taken it once, and I did not join. I'll just say that. That's it is not one that is easy. There were several times during that timed event that I was tapping my forehead just saying, I don't get it. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for today. Big thanks for you all.
Is that why you had the Band-Aid on your forehead the other day? You had just finished a Mensa test?
Stabbing myself. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber and Bill at Political Bill SC. You can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 in the morning. Although he is propositioning me for a potential switch.
Whoa, let's try a different set of words if you wouldn't mind.
Propositioning. Let's throw some benefit. Catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 5:30 a.m. Eastern, because apparently we don't know how to sleep in. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and don't forget, Donald Trump can't bring any of these deported inmates from El Salvador because he just doesn't have the power. He is not strong enough. He doesn't have it in him as the president of the United States. That's ultimately what it is. It's not about him not wanting to. He just can't. I absolutely believe he just doesn't have. He's not the strength. He doesn't have the strength. He's not man enough. That's all it is. So anyway, thanks, Bill.